I
Man, it
like it.
was fun the other day listening to those auditions. You're an adjudicator. I
Hmm.
always put myself back in the students, like, because all
Yeah.
those thoughts and feelings and emotions, fear, and like
Yeah.
all the things that go through your head. What about you?
For me, since I never did district auditions specifically, it brought me back to two things. I had juries in high school because I went to Lincoln Park, and so they had juries there. It brought me back to that for sure. And then like college auditions, and that was those were the big ones that I remember auditioning at colleges and just feeling the same way of like hearing the person go before me, seeing all the names on the list and all of that. So it was just weird to be kind of on the other side of the coin, I guess. Yeah.
And we can't give away anything, but what were some of the things that you heard during these auditions that you want to, give just a little bit of advice to students, try to help them?
Yeah, the a big thing for me and is was tone. And I'm a big stickler for tone just because I obsess over it in my own playing. And I think it's fair. I mean, sound is like the first thing that people hear when you play, It made it hard to like pay attention to like other things like intonation. Like you can't really divorce intonation from tone entirely.
Yeah, there were a couple students that I heard where their tone and intonation and just overall sound improved from the beginning of the audition to the end of the audition.
Hmm.
And I'm like, okay, well, what are some of the reasons that, is it a warm up thing?
Hmm.
Is it a confidence thing? They walked in and they were freaking out in their mind, but then, no,
Hmm.
I'm just doing it and I'm getting more comfortable.
Hmm.
I'm guessing it was a warm up. So I
Hmm.
just want to suggest to students, yeah, there's a whole bunch of people listening to you. You're in some awkward, you don't have a private room to warm up in, but you got to make sound. By doing that, you'll probably meet somebody else that says, "Hey, you sound really nice."
Yeah, yeah,
And
for
you
sure.
start that conversation. That's what
Hmm.
it's all about, making some of those friends, making that history together.
Yeah, yeah. Especially when, if you're a freshman trying to audition, you're gonna have three more of these. So at least the Etude reading was first, and there was one student in particular that read the Etude, and I was like, oh man, like their tones, they seem like they're playing really softly, like they're not pushing a lot of air, it's not really well supported. And then right after that, they did the improvisation. It was just like a huge sound, like pushing a lot of air, well supported. I was like, it's just so crazy, like the difference between maybe they were just like a little less comfortable on the Etude, but that's definitely something to pay attention to. Like push the same amount of air, use the same amount of support on all of the other things that you maybe aren't as comfortable on, and that'll definitely help those sound like you're more comfortable on them. At least I know that was something I noticed for sure.
Mm-hmm. And for some of those other students that, they're getting their tone together, they're getting their intonation together, what is that next level? And that's showing your personality
Mm.
through your music. And that student was like, yeah, I can solo. I got my personalities coming.
Yeah.
But then how do you connect that personality to this written piece, whatever it may be in any
Hmm.
situation?
Yeah.
That's where you start getting up in the ranks and just making your own personal sound and having fun with it.
Quite a few people that I remember specifically writing down like heavy articulation.
They didn't have the jazz articulation. They were tonguing every single note. The airflow, right? Air
Hmm.
is supposed to be just a solid stream. And then
Hmm.
I heard some of those students playing the eighth notes. They felt kind of good, but then
Hmm.
getting that diaphragm pulsing. You just want to laser beam, like Conor
Yep.
Herwig said, man, laser beam. What were your general thoughts on just thinking across the board, in generalities on how students did with the sight reading?
I mean, we probably heard 40 auditions, and there was probably maybe I want to say maybe three or four students that really did pretty well on the sight reading. So it was kind of shocking to me because I for some reason I anticipated like I felt like a lot of students did better in improvisation than sight reading, which is interesting to me because it seems like in my mind I remember school was so much reading, read the music, prepare your music for your ensembles, all of that. Then the improv went really well for a lot of students, I thought, but then the sight reading was kind of weak. So it was kind of the opposite of what I anticipated going into
Yeah,
it.
absolutely. And I'm happy about it. But at the same time, you know, if you're trying to do this as a profession, if you want to put your best foot forward, you want to be
Hmm.
balanced across the board.
Yeah.
You want those sight reading skills
Hmm.
pretty high up there as best you can,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
So what are
As,
some of those methods that you can use to get better at sight reading?
hmm.
Break it apart. Rhythm, just work on rhythm.
Yep.
Don't worry about note recognition. Oh, I see that note. How fast can I put my fingers down and connect that to my instrument? To me, those are two different things: rhythm
Yeah.
and note recognition. So, how do you work on sight reading?
Let me table this for just 1 second. One thing I did want to mention was the students that, maybe were scored a little better on sight reading, even if they didn't nail the notes and the rhythms, they kept the time moving, and they kept moving throughout the whole piece. And that's big, because if you completely stop and you're trying to figure out the notes, half of the battle is just keeping moving. Even if you mess something up, you just keep going and keep the time there, especially in the situation where you're playing with a whole band. You don't get to just stop and figure it out. The time's going to keep moving whether you like it or not. So that was something I definitely noticed. But one of the things I do to practice that specifically is there are a couple things I do. One thing I'll do is find charts, just random charts online, and I'll just play with the metronome, just sight read them. Doesn't even matter if they're for my instrument or in my key. Just read them with a metronome. It doesn't matter, and keep trying to keep moving and looking ahead and all of that. And the other thing I've been doing lately is there's actually a website. I'm really into video game music. And there's this website called VG Lead Sheets. And it's just a bunch of lead sheets for video game music. And it has it for every key, like B flat instruments, E flat instruments, C instruments, alto, clef. Like, it has everything. And it has links to the recordings of it. So you can all on the website. So you can just click a random tune that you don't know, and click the YouTube link, and it'll start playing, and you just have to start reading and play along. And that really forces you have to keep moving. And so that's been really good for me lately. I've been doing that a lot, and it's one of those things where it's like a muscle. If you don't work it, it'll get weak, and you'll end up paying for it on a gig. You'll be like, oh geez, I'm supposed to sight read on this gig. I just got called today for it, and now I haven't practiced sight reading in a month, and oh geez, I'm really, it's like, yeah, it shows. You don't realize how weak it gets, how quickly, until you like have to use it for something. You're like, oh no. So yeah, that's real. What about you? What do you normally do?
First off, thank you for sharing that. I had no idea that even existed.
Oh dude, yeah.
That sounds like a really fun way.
Oh,
to
it's awesome.
Yourself too,
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
There's this book, Louis Belson, Patterns 4/4. He's got one at odd times, and it's literally every combination written in every combination. So it goes through like, okay, this is all eighth note rhythms. This is eighth note and quarter notes. Oh, now we're going to add triplets.
Yeah.
Really breaks it down so you can work on those typical rhythms. I mean,
yeah.
There's only so many.
Exactly. There really is a finite number of rhythms.
But definitely start with Louis Belson's book. That'll kick anybody's butt.
Yeah.
It
kicks
my all the time. I put it on. I'm like, oh.
Yeah. That's awesome. Oh, you wanted to mention a little bit about chirpiness in your reads.
Yeah, I think that's kind of part of the warming up process. But it doesn't.
Sure.
It might not be. It might be how you're putting the reed on the mouthpiece. It might be the mouthpiece itself. Maybe something's going on there. You accidentally dropped it yesterday, and there's a chip coming out of it, or something. Maybe something happened to it. There's a lot of different variables that will create that. Maybe it's an articulation thing, and how your tongue is meeting that reed, that relationship that could cause that chirpiness.
Yeah, for sure.
So try to mess around with all those things. Mess around with that gap up at the top of the mouthpiece, where that reed meets the tip of the mouthpiece.
And also try another reed if it doesn't work. Yeah. If you're messing around with the reed and you're moving it all over, and still, just try another reed. That's definitely, if you're auditioning somewhere, bring more than one reed.
Evan, I'm glad that we had this opportunity to hang and get to know each other a little bit, and just share our passion for what we all want to do. We just want to sound good, play, and have a good time. So thank you so much. And I really wish the best for all these students. We heard some amazing students, and I can't wait to see who gets in and hear the bands and hear about the experience. I really do want to check that out.
Yeah, definitely.
We have to give a big thank you to Jason Cush up at
absolutely.
University for hosting the whole thing and putting it together. Thank you, Jason.
Yeah, it is definitely no small task. So huge shout out to him.